The sunshine's calling your name, the palm trees are swaying, and you're ready to retire in paradise. But hold up, did you know that Florida's net migration dropped by 50% in just 1 year? All because of one critical mistake. It's not hurricanes, it's not the heat, and it's definitely not what everyone thinks. By the end of this video, you'll know how to avoid the #1 retirement mistake that's costing people their peace of mind, their happiness, and sometimes hundreds of thousands in moving expenses. So let's find out. Southwest Florida pulls people in for a reason. The white sand, the beaches, the relaxed pace. It looks like paradise from the outside, and for a lot of folks, it can be. But here's where many retirees get tripped up. They jump in head first, fall for the picture-perfect vision of life down here, and forget to ask one simple question. Does this place actually fit me? That's where things start to unravel, and that's exactly what I want to show you today. Now, to really understand this mistake, we've got to start with lifestyle, because the way you actually live day to day is where everything begins to click or fall apart. Now, let's talk about the part nobody thinks about once the beach photos are over, the everyday stuff. And I get it. You come down here on vacation, dolphins are jumping out of the water, you've got a drink in your hand on the beach, and it just feels perfect. You tour a couple of model homes, maybe hop on a golf cart with a sales rep, and you think, this is it. This is paradise. Sign me up. But living here full-time is a whole different ballgame. You're not in vacation mode anymore. You're running errands, going to doctor appointments, and figuring out that routine. That's when reality hits. That's where folks run into trouble. Here's a quick example. Imagine you find a gorgeous home, big lake view, open floor plan, stunning lanai. The place checks every box on paper, but the neighborhood, dead quiet. You could hear a pin drop in the middle of the afternoon. At first you might think, wow, this is so peaceful. Exactly what we need after leaving the city. But then think about your day-to-day. Do you want to walk to coffee shops, have neighbors outside, events on the calendar, energy in the community? In a place like that, after 6 months, you're probably feeling isolated. The peace and quiet might turn into the very things that make you unhappy. And once we start breaking down actual communities in a minute, you'll see just how wildly different quiet and social can look depending on where you land. Now, I've seen the flip side too. Some folks tell me they want to be in the middle of everything, close to the beach, nightlife, tons of activity. But after moving, they realize they're more homebodies. They'd rather sit on their lanai with a book, watch the sunset, and enjoy the crickets instead of the sound of traffic or music from the bar down the street. Here's the truth. Neither lifestyle is better. The only thing that matters is what matches you. And that's where I see people mess up. They buy what looks exciting on the surface instead of asking the real question. What does my day-to-day look like? Do you see yourself walking to the clubhouse every morning for coffee with neighbors? Or are you just happiest when it's just you, the birds, and some quiet time? Do you picture yourself joining pickleball leagues, wine tastings, and social clubs? Or does a slower place with a couple of close friends sound more like your style? I can tell you from experience, the happiest retirees here are the ones who are brutally honest with themselves about the way they actually live. The ones who weren't are the ones calling me a year later saying, John, we love Florida, but this neighborhood just isn't us. And that's an expensive mistake to fix. So hang on, because the fun part is coming up. I'm about to take you inside actual neighborhoods where these lifestyle choices aren't just ideas, they're lived out every single day. Before I forget, if you're nodding about thinking, yeah, that makes sense, then you're my kind of person. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because I'm always breaking down what it's really like to live in Southwest Florida. Straight talk, no fluff, and who knows, the next video might be the one that helps you pick your future neighborhood. All right, let's get into some real communities here in Southwest Florida, because this is where people usually hit a snag. The house looks perfect, but the lifestyle around it is totally different from what they actually want. Let's start with Babcock Ranch. That's where I live and work. This place is unlike anything else. It's America's first solar-powered town. We've got nearly 150 miles of trails, new schools, restaurants, and a growing town center. If you're into sustainability, technology, and being part of a community that's building for the future, you'll probably love it. There's always activity, kids biking, families walking dogs, neighbors chatting. The energy is contagious. But let me be straight with you, Babcock isn't for everyone. We're about 35 minutes from Southwest Florida International Airport. If your dream is walking to the Gulf every morning for sunrise, this isn't it. And because we're still new, it doesn't have that old established neighborhood feel. You've got to be okay with construction change and watching things develop around you. Some people thrive on that. Others want something fully finished. And just wait until we get to location and access, because living inland feels a lot different once you factor in airports, hospitals, and yes, those beach runs. Now, Fort Myers, it's a completely different story. This is city living in Southwest Florida. Downtown has restaurants, live music, and art walks. You're close to the airport, which is huge if your family is flying in or you're traveling a lot. And the healthcare here, top-notch. You've got major hospitals and specialists right in town. But here's the trade-off. Fort Myers is busier, more traffic. Being right on the coast, hurricanes are more of a factor, and property values are higher in many spots. For people who love the action, it's perfect. For people who crave quiet, it can feel overwhelming. Then there's Punta Gorda. This is small town charm all the way. You're on Charlotte Harbor, so you've got beautiful waterfront living without Gulf of Mexico prices. Downtown is walkable with little shops, farmer markets, and mom and pop restaurants. It's slower paced, and a lot of retirees really connect with that. But again, there's a flip side. Punta Gorda doesn't have the same healthcare infrastructure you'll find in Fort Myers. ShorePoint Health Punta Gorda is the main hospital, but for specialized care, you'll probably be driving. Entertainment is more limited too. You're someone who wants Broadway shows, big concerts, or tons of restaurant options, you'll be driving. Some folks don't mind it. Others realize they're in the car way more than expected. And of course, I've got to mention Naples. Naples is the luxury capital of Southwest Florida. Pristine beaches, shopping on Fifth Avenue, golf courses everywhere. If your retirement dream is high-end dining, boutique shopping, and that upscale lifestyle, Naples delivers. But Naples is pricey. Property values are some of the highest in Florida. The median sale price is upwards of $800,000. Day-to-day costs, restaurant services, and HOA fees are higher too. For some, that's fine. For others, it stretches their budget in ways they didn't see coming. The bottom line, Babcock Ranch, Fort Myers, Punta Gorda, Naples, they all offer something incredible. But they also come with trade-offs. I've seen people buy in Naples only to realize they don't care about luxury shopping. I've seen folks move to Punta Gorda for easy small-town living and then get frustrated about the long drives for bigger city stuff. So don't just fall for the house. Ask yourself, does the lifestyle outside my front door line up with the way I actually want to live every single day? But here's where the plot thickens, because even if the vibe fits, what about the drive times, the hospitals, the beaches? That's where the story gets real. Now let's talk about location and access, because this is another thing people don't think about until they've already moved. And honestly, it's one of the biggest reasons I hear regrets later. Here's what happens. When you're here on vacation, everything feels convenient. You're relaxed, no work, no stress, palm trees, sunshine. You don't even notice the drive. But once you're living here full-time, that 20, 30, or 40-minute trip starts to feel a lot different when it's for groceries, doctor appointments, or picking up visiting family at the airport. Let's break it down. From Babcock Ranch, you're about 35 minutes from Southwest Florida International Airport. Not terrible, but if you've got grandkids flying in every few weeks, that 35 minutes starts to feel longer. Fort Myers, depending where you are, can be as close as 16 miles from the airport. Huge win if you're traveling often. Punta Gorda, yeah, you're closer to 45 minutes for the big airport, although you do have Punta Gorda Airport for some budget flights and regional destinations. Hospitals matter too. From Babcock Ranch, you're 25 minutes from major hospitals in Cape Coral and Fort Myers. In Fort Myers, you've got multiple options within about 10 to 15 minutes. That's peace of mind. Punta Gorda has its own hospital, but if you need a specialist, chances are you're heading up or down the road to Fort Myers or Sarasota. And let's be real, you probably want to know about beaches. From Babcock Ranch, your closest beach is going to be Fort Myers Beach, which is about 45 minutes away. Not bad, but not quick either. Obviously, if you're living in Fort Myers, you can head over to the beach pretty fast. That's a game changer if you want to go a few times a week. Now in Punta Gorda, you're looking about 35 to 40 minutes up to Englewood Beach. Location ties directly into whether those fancy amenities are even worth it. We'll talk about that soon, and you'll see why some people end up paying for things they barely touch. Now here's the trap I see people fall into. They'll say, oh, 30, 40 minutes to the beach, that's fine. And at first it is, but if you're the kind of person who wants to go 3 or 4 times a week, that round trip eats up a lot of time. What sounded fine in theory starts to feel like a chore in reality. And don't forget the everyday stuff. Publix runs, Costco trips, and grabbing dinner. Is your favorite restaurant down the street, or is it always 20 to 30 minutes away? How's the traffic at rush hour? These little things add up and play a bigger role in your happiness than most people realize. Here's the good news. No matter where you land in Southwest Florida, you're still ahead of the game. You're not shoveling snow. You're not scraping ice off of your car. You're waking up to palm trees and sunshine. That's always a win. But here's the key. Make sure the trade-offs fit the way you actually live, because convenience looks different for everybody. For some, 30 minutes to the beach is no big deal. For others, it's a deal breaker. But sometimes the distance isn't the real problem. It's whether the stuff you're paying for is even worth using. Let's talk amenities. Look, I get it. You walk through a clubhouse with a giant resort-style pool, tennis, pickleball courts, maybe even a tiki bar, and it's easy to think, wow, I'm going to use this every single day. But here's the truth. This is where I see people trip up big time. They fall in love with the shiny stuff and forget to ask, am I really going to use this? I've watched folks buy into golf communities even though they don't golf. They tell themselves, I'll pick it up in retirement. Some do, most don't. And then they're stuck paying hundreds, sometimes thousands every month for memberships and HOA fees that aren't adding anything to their lifestyle. And that's a tough pill to swallow. Now let's talk HOA fees, because this one surprises a lot of people. In some of the higher end retirement communities, you're talking $500, $600, $800 a month, sometimes even more. Sure, it covers your lawn care, security, pool, gyms, and all that good stuff. But if you're not using those things often, what's the point? That's just a really expensive gym membership and lawn service you barely getting value from. And then there's insurance. This is Florida, ladies and gentlemen. Homeowners insurance isn't cheap. Florida's average homeowners insurance rate is approximately $4,329 annually, significantly higher than the national average. Depending where your house is built, you could be looking at $3,000 to $8,000 a year or more. On top of that, if you're in a flood zone, tack on $500 to $2,000 to even up to $10,000 plus annually. It can really add up fast depending where you are. And don't forget that hurricane prep either. If your home has impact windows and doors, awesome, you're set up pretty well. But if it doesn't, you've either got to spend the money to upgrade, and that can run $20,000 to $40,000 easily, or deal with putting up shutters every time a storm rolls in. And trust me, spending a hot August afternoon wrestling metal panels onto your house is not how you want to spend retirement. So here's the takeaway. Don't get swept up by the bells and whistles. Amenities can absolutely add value, but only if you'll actually use them. Otherwise, you're bleeding money every month, and that could have gone toward travel, eating out, spoiling the grandkids, or whatever actually makes you happy. Sometimes the simpler community, the one without the giant clubhouse or golf course but with lower fees, gives you more freedom. Because instead of paying for things you'll never touch, you've got cash left over for the things you actually want. Before you sign anything, ask yourself if you're really going to use this. If the answer isn't an easy yes, you might be better off keeping that money in your pocket. So how do you avoid getting dazzled by the sales pitch and figure out what really matters? That's where I've got some tricks up my sleeve. Let's be real, this isn't simply about saving money. This is about setting yourself up for a retirement you'll actually enjoy. First thing, come during peak season. I can't stress this enough. Visit between January and March when Southwest Florida is at its busiest. The snowbirds are here, the roads are packed, restaurants are full. That's the real day-to-day you'll be living with. You only visit in September when it's quiet, you're not seeing the whole picture. Second, live like a local for a week. Don't stay at a resort. Get an Airbnb or near the community you're looking at. Do your grocery runs. Drive to the hospital. Eat at the local spots. Go to the clubhouse and pay attention to traffic at different times of day. Walk around at night. You'll notice things you'd never catch on a quick tour. I've had clients tell me, John, we had no idea this road backs up every single morning. Or, we thought this place was perfect until we saw how crowded the pool was on weekends. That's the kind of stuff you only catch by living it. And hang on to this, because earlier we talked about lifestyle fit, and this is where it all comes full circle. Your real habits will tell you more than any glossy brochure ever could. Third, be honest about your non-negotiables. This one's huge. Make 2 lists. Your must-haves and your nice-to-haves. For some, it's being 20 minutes from a hospital. For others, it's being close to the beach. Maybe you need fast internet for Zoom calls with family or part-time work. Whatever it is, get clear on what's non-negotiable. It'll make your decision process so much easier. And fourth, think about your routine, not your fantasy. A lot of people picture themselves reinventing everything in retirement. I'll golf, I'll play pickleball, I'll be out every night. But usually you carry your habits with you. If you weren't a big social butterfly before, a jam-packed calendar probably won't feel right now. And if you've always been active and on the go, a sleepy community might drive you nuts. Be real with yourself. And finally, talk to people who already live there. This is one of the easiest and most valuable steps. Chat with your neighbors when you tour. Ask them what they love and what they don't. They'll tell you if traffic is a nightmare, if the HOA is a pain, or if the community events are the highlight of their week. That kind of insight is priceless. Here's what I've noticed. The people who actually do these things, visit during the season, live like a local, make their non-negotiables list, talk to neighbors, they're the ones who settle in and say, John, this was the best decision we ever made. The ones who don't are usually the ones calling me later saying, we wish we'd known. So don't skip the homework. Try on the lifestyle before you buy it, because when you choose the right community for you, that's when Southwest Florida really feels like paradise. And now let's bring it all together because the big picture is here and it's way too important to miss. Babcock Ranch, Fort Myers, Punta Gorda, Naples, they're all amazing in their own way, but each one comes with trade-offs. The real key is figuring out which of those trade-offs line up with your priorities. Visit during peak season, spend time living like a local, get clear on your non-negotiables, and make sure the lifestyle around the home feels right for you. Do that and you'll be setting yourself up for years of happiness, not frustration. All right, if you're ready to make Southwest Florida your home, or you're thinking about selling and want to make sure you're making the right move, don't wait. Reach out to me directly at hello@swfloridarealestate.com. I'm here to help you navigate every step of the process with the inside scoop, and I can tell you firsthand, the right decision will change everything. So shoot me an email and let's make this happen together. Now that you know the number one mistake to avoid when picking a retirement community, let's dig deeper into one of the hottest spots in Southwest Florida, Babcock Ranch. In the next video, I'm giving you the ultimate guide with 7 must-know tips for 2025 you won't want to miss. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and who knows, one day soon, I might be calling you neighbor. Let's go.